Thank you, Dr. Tramoel, for the introduction. Thanks also to Foreign Magalhaes for bringing us here, sponsoring our presentation, and also to the North American PRRS Symposium Organizing Committee. So today we're going to talk about our project, which the title is The Drivers of Wean-to-Finish Mortality and the Impact of Disease Status in a Production System. Actually, this project is under umbrella of a bigger project that is the Improving Pig Survivability, that it's founded by Pork Checkoff and FFAR, where Jason Ross is the PI. And Purdue, Kansas, and Minnesota, and Iowa State, they're doing research with this project. And our focus was on the drivers of wean-to-finish mortality based on data. And would like also to thank Iowa Select Farms for providing all the data and the partnership. So nowadays, most of the swine production systems, they collect vast and ever-expanding amount of data from service to market on swine health, productivity, pig flow, environment aspects, associated with production performance. So we have health, economic, production data, as we are seeing in the chart. But however, those data, they are, most of the time, they are separated. They come from different softwares, and they are used for specific needs. So we have the opportunity here to aggregate all of that big data on an ongoing automated basis to measure the effect of specific factors and parameters, and also to forecast productivity. So also extrapolation from conclusions of research conducted on conditions, on controlled conditions and field trials, they need to be taken with caution because it's going to change from farm to farm and within the farm as the time goes by. So example is 174 might be very virulent for one farm, but 6 months later might be not because of the herd immunity development. So we have the opportunity to develop this statistical model to aggregate the data and analyze it from different softwares. And this model will provide a final cohort report that would allow field veterinarians to take data-driven decisions based on their own data. So we have some researchers that are really important. We are not saying that we don't need, of course, we do, but we can also provide them software, a model that would aggregate the data from the production system, and they can look for association of parameters on a specific outcome using their own data. So our first objective here was to develop this automated model. We use SAS software to do that. So basically capture and merge multiple data streams from production system, generating a final cohort report. So each group that was weaned in that production system, we aggregated data that came from different softwares and also information that the veterinarian records and put on a spreadsheet. We can include everything that they record from softwares or personal recording. And not only do that, so furthermore we look at using this cohort report and we ran a statistical analysis on it, we apply a statistical analysis on it. So to measure first, we can magnitude of association of specific parameters on the outcome. For this specific project, the outcome was wean-to-finish mortality, but we can also look for average yield gain or feed conversion, and also to forecast closeout mortality based on combination of some parameters. So for this analysis, we use 1,172 closeouts, so groups that went to the market from June 2018 to 19, having information of breeding to wean productivity parameters, breeding to wean and growing pig health status, facilities structure information, pig flow, management factors, and of course the closeout data of the growing groups. And those growing groups, those pigs that went to the market, they came from single source and multiple source as sow farm, and also finisher groups that came from single or commingling nurseries. And in the end, we had this cohort service to market report, and we look at the wean-to-finish mortality. So basically, that's how it looks like. There's a lot of spreadsheets regarding health status, diagnostic, productivity, and basically the idea is to have this cohort service to market report, an automated model that in less than minutes is going to aggregate all of that using this movement report. That it's a report that the software that this production system uses. So for each load in and out of pigs, each semi has a unique ID. So with that, we are able to aggregate and generate this final cohort report. So basically, that's how it works. Also, every sow farm, each sow farm produces an individual report with, on a weekly basis, showing all the productivity parameters, and basically our model was able in the first step to compilate all of that, so we have here on a weekly basis, but for every sow farm in one single spreadsheet, so that's what our model does. And also health status at weaning, so in this example here, PRRS status, each row is a sow farm, each column is a week, so PRRS status on a weekly basis for each sow farm. Also diagnostic information, so diagnostic information that comes from the VDL. In this case, for example, Salmonella, E. coli, they receive the diagnosis and input that data in this spreadsheet. But it's a separated spreadsheet they're going to use on a specific needs. And here we are looking for the ability of aggregating all of that. So PRRS RFLP, for example, each sow farm, the date, so each group that were weaned, they had information of the RFLP, when the sow farm, the air filtration was applied in that sow farm. So the model was able to build this reproductive cohort report, so all the information regarding the sow farm before weaning. So we can see here repeats, abortion, but not only productivity, we have filtration, if the farm is filtrated or not, RFLP, mycoplasma, PRRS status for each specific weaned group. And then we merge that reproductive cohort with the finisher closeout, which is the one in the far right, the finishing phase data. So all the information of those groups when they went to the market. And for that we have to make the transition, because those pigs, they go to a straight nursery or to a double stock group. So that we were able to fulfill this first objective, that is to build this cohort report on an automated way, so aggregating data from health, from diagnostics, from economic, and from the production, and in spreadsheets that they want to record, if they want to record some vaccination or management protocols. Furthermore, we look at the second objective, that is to apply the statistical analysis on this final model. So we were looking for association between specific parameters and wean-to-finish mortality, and also to forecast wean-to-finish mortality based on a combination of parameters. So for that we have to do a transformation on the outcome, a log transformation, in order to normalize the distribution of the data, so we can see here from left to right. And the first step, when we look at, we focus on measuring the effect of specific parameters, we saw that sow farm productivity parameter was highly associated with subsequent downstream performance. So one example, it might be total born, for example. So in the x-axis, we have the average of total born of the group that were weaned, that was weaned, and in the y-axis, we have the wean-to-finish mortality of those groups. So we can see here that the groups that were weaned with a total born average higher than 15.4 pigs, they had the lowest wean-to-finish mortality downstream. The same thing for pigs weaned per sow. That is another parameter that they record in this production system. So we can see here that pigs that were weaned with an average of pigs weaned per sow for that specific weaned group higher than 11.6%, those pigs, they had a lower wean-to-finish mortality, 6.88% of wean-to-finish. So it's associated with wean-to-finish mortality. Annualized sow death rate, so pigs that were weaned in sow farms where the sow death rate at that week was higher than 16.7%, they had the highest wean-to-finish mortality downstream. So this is the sow death rate on that week, but it's annualized, it's projected for the year. Farrowing rate, we can see here that pigs that were weaned, and the average of that weaned group of the farrowing rate average was higher than 88%. Those pigs, they had 7.65% of wean-to-finish mortality downstream. And also we saw that health-related parameters also were associated with wean-to-finish mortality. So for example, the PRRS status at weaning for this production system, we can see that unstable or epidemic, that's the groups that were weaned, those pigs, they had 12.1% of wean-to-finish mortality downstream. The same pattern we can see here for mycoplasma. So mycoplasma unstable groups weaned from unstable, with unstable status for mycoplasma, they had the highest wean-to-finish mortality downstream. And we can also do some interaction between specific parameters. In this case, pre-weaning mortality and interaction with PRRS status. And we can see here clearly that the red line is PRRS unstable, are the PRRS unstable groups. So we can see that it doesn't matter what is the pre-weaning mortality, it's always going to be higher. The wean-to-finish mortality is always going to be higher when these groups are coming from PRRS unstable sow farms. And the average of those groups when they are stable or negative, the pre-weaning mortality, it doesn't change too much. And we can also look for seasonality, so pigs that were weaned and stocked on the growing sites during the winter, those pigs, they had 9.42% of wean-to-finish mortality downstream. And we can do that with all the parameters that the production system desires. So if they want to do that for a specific management, if they require that, we can include in this model. And after that, the next step was to forecast close-out mortality based on a combination of parameters. So in the right chart, we have all the variables that we analyze in this data. And in the green variables are the ones that we chose to be on our multivariable model. So based on the p-value and the r-square, avoiding also the multicollinearity, so that's we have the correlation plot on the left. Not to overfit the model, we build a multivariable model. And this multivariable model accounted for 80.9% of the observed variability of the wean-to-finish mortality. So we can see our model, our multivariable model with those variables that were in green, estimated closer to 20% of mortality, and the real mortality was 20% of that group. Each circle here is a specific group. And we can see they are not big outliers, it fulfills a good pattern. But in order to forecast future mortality, we did a k-fold cross-validation, in this case a 5-fold cross-validation, which is basically to divide the whole data set in 5 parts, in 5 folds, and we apply this multivariable model that I've just shown in the past slide. We apply in 80% of each fold as a training set, and then use the same model in the rest of the data in 20% with unseen data, not seeing the outcome, to really predict, to see the predictive power of this multivariate model. So we had 71% of predictive power, so our model was accounted for the variability of wean-to-finish mortality with 71%. So this study proves that the concept of that it's possible to build an automated model to consolidate multiple data streams with information about weaning cohorts and also the groups that went to the market. And this was used to measure association of different factors, including sow farm productivity, disease status, pig flow, environment factors, or subsequent wean-to-finish mortality. I didn't show here, but there are several, more than we can use in this model and analyze more than 100, 200 variables. What they record we can analyze, and only the production information from MetaFarm software, for example, they provide a lot of data for weaning groups, so we can also analyze of that. And we have the opportunity not only to look at health, economic, and production, we have the opportunity to include precision livestock farming ecosystems. That this precision livestock farming ecosystem, they are becoming every time bigger and bigger, and each precision livestock farming technology, they provide information, and when they are all together, they provide this precision livestock farming ecosystem, and we can also include those technologies in the analysis. So it will be, for example, we have cameras that measure the weight of the pigs, sensors that measure how many calves per day in that barn, temperature of the pigs, cameras that measure the temperature, daily water and feed consumption, distribution of the pigs inside the pen if they're with cold or not. And those technologies, what it's interesting here is that they provide daily or weekly reports, and we can include that data and merge with the specific group's information. So we are really excited with that. So as next steps, we are applying different analytical approaches also in this model with machine learning, neural networks, web of causation concepts. We also are building SAS scripts, not only for wean-to-finish, now we're looking for average daily gain and feed conversion. and also include economic analysis in the model, which is a big thing for us, because we don't only want to show, hey, this is the impact of, or the association of this factor is that much in this outcome, but what will be the economic impact also? So we are working with that, when we start working with that with Dr. Holtkamp at Iowa State. Include the precision livestock farming technologies also, and in the end to provide an Iowa State web-based platform with the model where any production system can input the data. They're going to have a script specific for their production system, and they're going to input all the data that they record, everything that they record, and the model is going to generate a cohort report in less than minutes, and the statistical analysis also. So with that, I would like to thanks again everyone. Thanks our team, the field AP at Iowa State. Special thanks to Dr. Daniel Linhares, Barry Ingelheim, and Iowa Select Farms also, especially Dr. Pete Thomas for trusting in us and providing all the data, and it's been a great partnership. So with that, I'm open to questions. Thanks.
Very nice. We do have time for questions. So maybe you said it as part of your presentation, but did you look and see whether there was an association between the productivity parameters in the sow farm and then when the mortality happened in the grow finish, the timing of the mortality?
No, we don't have. We didn't have that information when the mortality happened, but we can look and dig on in that if they record. The software, they provided information, the last information when the groups leave the nursery or the wean-to-finish double stock, the closeouts, but it's only the information of the closeout.
Okay, very good.
If they record that, we can include.
Jack.
Yeah, very nice, very impressive. I'm wondering though whether, to what extent are you analyzing...
Can you turn on the microphone? Sorry about that.
So I'm wondering, to what extent are you analyzing and predicting differences between systems rather than predicting differences within a system? You know, because the best predictor of future performance of a system is its past performance, right? But you really want to predict, well, how well this particular cohort of pigs that is coming in, how well is that going to perform relative to past cohorts in that farm? And I'm wondering, to what extent are you focusing on that versus differences between systems?
Yeah, in order to look for a difference between systems, we wanted we need to have a model for each specific system because the information is different. So that's why we have to have the different scripts for different production systems. But as we have the one script now, it's easy to manipulate and settle to another production system. But as we saw, the predictivity, the capacity of the model to explain, it's 80% with the past data, and looking to the future is 70%. And we are working with machine learning algorithms to, as soon as you input the data, the model is going to adapt and learn with that new data to predict with the future mortality. But basically it's focused on what is happening for that specific production system, not others. So for looking to other production systems, we have to have a different script.
Would you foresee, with the information you've gained here historically, to be able to, when I place a group of pigs, can I predict what the outcome will be, and then when the variation's occurring, so I know that group's gone bad this week? Do you understand the question?
Yeah. So yeah, it might be interesting to have that information. So if the production system record that, and we can, like Dr. Romero said, if we can see where that mortality happened or what was the protocol, we can also include that information in the model. It's going to be another column. And we can run that, measure the specific impact of that variable and or the association with others, like for the protocol, the timing when the infection happened, the purge status from the sow farm. So that as many information that they record, the production system can start to making the question and record, and the model is able to analyze that.
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
With that, thank you very much.